Arlong was surprised by the act of defiance as he turned from sitting on his throne, looking where his glass of wine had once been, now shattered onto the ground itself, and the trident that had shattered it stabbed into the wall over to his right. As he looked over to his left, he saw Luffy along with his crew. A grin would appear on his face. However, the malice in his eyes could not be lost. King of the Pirates. Is that right, boy? If I had a berry for every time I came across someone with those idiotic dreams, I'd be one rich man. However, people like you're the ones that the sea loves the most. The haughty always get humbled. It was brave of you to come here, you and your little crew, sticking your nose in business that has no real concern of yours. Let me show you how idiotic you truly are. You want to be king of the pirates. You're not even going to live to see tomorrow. Luffy, however, would continue his approach to Arlong. Arlong as well, the large fishman towering over the young boy. As Arlong's henchmen would move in towards Luffy's crew, they would have their hands full dealing with them, Sanji and Usopp dealing with a few of the lower tier goons, and Zoro having to borrow both Johnny and Yasuku's blades to battle against a 6-arm wielding fishman, as well as Volko, who had his hands full with the aggressive fishman known as King Shark. Luffy and Arlong, both of them standing face to face, Luffy looking up towards the towering fishman. Arlong would go for a strike, but Luffy would block it with his forearm, the ground slowly shaking under them from the exchange. Arlong could see that the boy had good posture. He was able to hold his own and not back away even for a moment. The two would then begin a series of strikes towards one another. Fishmen, of course, were known for fisherman karate. That was just their natural element of fighting style, although some were better at it than others. Luffy was able to block and deflect with ease. Arlong could see that the boy did have proper training. As Luffy would duck between Arlong's legs, he wrapped his arms around him, attempting to go for a German suplex, driving Arlong's head into the ground. However, Arlong would quickly get up from this, grabbing the boy once more by the face before mashing him into the ground as well. You got some good skills, kid. You're very versed in the way of the fishman for a human. But then as he thought about it, as he let the seriousness of the moment wash over him, Arlong, his nose could pick up on something. The way this boy smelled, it wasn't really like a human. Yes, he was human, part of him, but he was something else. The boy smelt like he was the son of the sea. But there was only one particular kind of human who had a smell like that. I see. Atlantean. That's what you are. Luffy would kick back against Arlong, trying to get to his feet. So, of all things, worse than a human, a damn Atlantean dared to enter into my domain. You truly have audacity. Although I must say, I've never actually come across an Atlantean in my lifetime, I've been made very much aware of what you are and what you're capable of. This indeed changes everything. Tell you what, kid. I got a proposition for you. You join my crew, and I'll leave this village alone. What? Luffy would ask. You don't know how much Atlantean heads go for, do you? You're very valuable, even if you don't know it yourself. Your worth, it's way more than anything this pathetic village could give me. So it's simple. Give yourself over to me, and I'll leave this place alone. Yeah, like I'd ever do that. Just give myself over to you? You have a better offer? You're outmatched, kid. You're way in over your head, and you don't even realize it. You're an upstart, a rookie. You don't know any better. If you think I'm bad, just wait. Even if you could make it to the Grand Line, you don't know the true horrors that are out there. There are beings a lot more scarier than me and a lot less kind. If they find out what you are, if they learn what you're truly capable of, you'll never have a peaceful night of sleep in your life. You'll spend the rest of your days looking over your shoulder, never knowing when your last day on Earth is going to be. There are people out there in the Grand Line who would take your head off your shoulders without even thinking twice about it. So why not? I know the ways of the sea. You come with me and you can see greatness. But I already plan to. With my crew. We're going to conquer the seas, and I will be the one to become king of the pirates. You're not the first one to say that. You won't be the last. But just like you, all of the foolish ambitions of the youth, they die and lay dormant under the sea. But if you won't come willingly, then I'll take you by force. Arlong would charge at Luffy before dragging him into the waters below. Nulius saw this as he would try to get closer to Luffy. However, before he could even have the chance, King Shark would grab him once more, slamming him back down to the ground itself, as the older one would rise to his feet once again. I see. You're not going to make this easy for me, are you? I can tell. You're not like the others. You have a kind heart. You don't know me. You know nothing about me. King Shark would raise his hands towards Volko, Volko blocking with his trident spear, as the two of them would match strength once more. In the meantime, both Sanji and Usopp would lead the other fishermen away, hoping to draw out the battle in an area where they would have the advantage. However, Sanji found himself in a bit more trouble than it was worth, as he got stuck also under the waters themselves, where fishermen had the advantage. And as for Usopp, well, he found himself running into the forest, shooting off his stars and, well, fearing for his life, trying his best to take out the fishermen with what he had. Luffy, however, along with Volko, would find themselves in the depths of the sea, battling against Arlong and King Shark. Arlong and King Shark had perfect chemistry under the water, since they had been together for a long period of time. Volko, in the meanwhile, would have to guard against Luffy's blind spots, but that also left him susceptible to attack. Yes, when it came to fighting on land, Luffy was definitely more than capable of holding his own. He wasn't a weakling and he wasn't someone to be taken lightly. However, fighting under the water is where Luffy truly struggled, even after all this time. It wasn't that he never had any training under the water. Luffy was a good swimmer. He was capable of holding his own. But even still, it wasn't something he practiced with a fervent ferocity. And as such, it was an area where he found himself to be lacking, and Arlong could tell this. Under the waters, Arlong moved like a blur. coming in and out of sight, landing in attacks over and over and over and over again. King Shark would try to go in for the assist, looking to rip Luffy's neck off with his teeth. However, his teeth would be caught in by the Triton of Vulko as he would spin the shark around. It didn't take King Shark and Arlong long to see that Vulko was the experienced one of the group. That's when they changed tactics. The two of them would swim together in a formation, the two of them ducking in and out of sight. Vulko and Luffy would stand back to back. This was their best chance of strategy until they could get to the surface. Luffy, stand behind me. Don't leave this formation. Right now, we're dealing with two people who are way above your pay grade. I can hold my own just fine. You don't have to worry. Don't try to do this alone. If you do, you'll die. Wait for my signal. We'll try to go in for a defensive barrier, and when the time is right, we'll shoot back for the surface and take the fight back to land. However, their strategy would be easier said than done, as King Shark and Arlong would now switch opponents. Arlong going after Vulko, with King Shark going after Luffy. Luffy would use his Triton as a way of blocking off against King Shark. However, King Shark was more than able to overpower the young boy, eventually grabbing on to him and using his teeth to bite into his left side. Luffy yelled out in pain as he felt something excruciating. It was a stabbing sensation. He could feel something puncturing into his body. He could feel it ripping into him. For the first time in his life, Luffy felt what it was like to actually be stabbed by something. The mouths of fishmen are incredibly powerful, their teeth made especially for biting into tough and rugged objects. Safe to say, while an Atlantean skin is capable of deflecting against most of your average sharp blades, meaning your average sword, bayonet, knife, things of that nature, the teeth of a fisherman can actually leave some lasting scars. And for Luffy, he felt it firsthand as King Shark was taking a bite out of his side, thrashing and throwing him around, twirling in the water as well, trying to make Luffy dizzy and disoriented, while also losing blood in the process. In the meanwhile, Vulko had his hands full dealing with Arlong, the two of them being nearly evenly matched. You also are an Atlantean of the sea. You were foolish to come here. Yeah, it seems I'm starting to see that. We don't have to go this far. The conflict between Atlantean and fishmen has been drawn out for far too long. Arlong, however, would snarl at Vulko's words. No matter what he said, it wouldn't change anything between the fishmen and the Atlanteans. The hatred between the two sides ran deep, and it was the type of hatred that cannot easily be washed away. For so long, both treated the other like they were outcasts, as if they were the abominations of the sea. And as such, it was why the fishermen felt no particular loss when the Atlantean world was destroyed. And even still, even when the Atlanteans were in control, what did they do for the fishmen when they were being oppressed? Nothing at all. As far as Arlong was concerned, any Atlantean that would ever ask him for mercy was one deserving of an even greater death. Luffy, in the meanwhile, was fighting for his life against King Shark. Remaining conscious just long enough, he would be able to break himself free. Using the momentum that King Shark was propelling the both of them with, he switched him around, heading straight towards Arlong and Vulko. At the last second, he would throw King Shark right into Arlong, while Vulko would use Luffy's motion, grabbing him and angling towards the surface, the two of them landing back on the top of Arlong Park, as Arlong himself and King Shark would come following soon after. Luffy, for the first time, could see a clear view of his own blood. It was definitely a sight for sore eyes. He had only been cut a few times in his life, and that was only when he was training and when Vulko got serious. But yet even still, he never thought that the pain could be this excruciating. However, Arlong would come jetting out of the waters, tackling Luffy into the tall tower that was behind them. The tower where Nami had been forced to write and draw her maps for Arlong for so long. A place that had been like her prison, her torment. As Luffy struggled to get back to his feet with trident in hand, Arlong marched towards him. As he pulled teeth out of his mouth that could regrow instantly, he used the pulled out teeth and threw them like projectiles, stabbing Luffy in the shoulders as well as his legs, keeping him almost immobilized. Luffy would fall to a knee as Arlong stood above him, ready to deliver the finishing blow. However, before he could get a chance to, Luffy, in a final gasp, would raise his trident into the air before stabbing it back into the ground. At first, Arlong had no idea why he had done this. However, he would soon learn the truth, as Luffy would grab Arlong once more. Taking him by surprise, he would throw him to the ground quickly. Moving as fast as he could, he would pin Arlong's arm behind his back, forcing him down as he attempted to hold him in place long enough. Once Luffy managed to hook both arms behind his back, Luffy would then deliver a series of suplexes to Arlong, each time raising him up high and spiking his head onto the concrete floor down below. He did this over and over and over again, never letting go of his wrist control around Arlong's waist. Every time Arlong tried to break free, he would have his head driven into the ground once again. Even for a fishman and for his durability, the repeated strikes to the head was starting to weigh on him over and over, until eventually he felt himself slowly slipping in and out of consciousness. Arlong would try to break free. However, Luffy would never let go of his control. No matter how many times Arlong struck him in the face, no matter how much he fought, no matter how much he bit at him, clawed and scratched, Arlong would be raised up and would be dropped down once again. By the time Luffy had finally let go, Arlong's head had been driven into the ground almost 100 times. Luffy finally broke free long enough as he went towards his trident. However, Arlong would grab him by the leg, attempting to pull him back. Arlong would throw Luffy into the air, throwing him through the floors of the tower, going upwards, as Arlong jumped up after him, attempting to go in for a strike himself. However, Luffy would reverse this mid-air, as he would grab Arlong, turning him upside down and getting him in position, before dropping him straight into the ground with a pile driver. Arlong would go in head first, as his body slumped back down. As he looked up, he could see the maps that Nami had drew for him, all of them fluttering into the air, all of them looking as though they were going to scatter into the wind itself. Luffy moved towards his trident, preparing to pull it from the ground. It's over, Arlong. And now, you can be buried with your sins. Luffy pulled his trident from the ground and quickly made his way out. The second he pulled it from the ground itself, it started to rumble and shake, the tower collapsing in on itself. Floor by floor, the stones would descend, falling onto Arlong and burying him. In the meantime, Vulko would reach the climax of his fight against King Shark. As Vulko took notice of King Shark's body, he saw the scars on his back, the scars on his wrist. They were not ordinary scars you might be thinking of. They were the scars of a slave. You have been hurt, my friend. I can see that. I can feel it in your spirit. You don't know anything about me. I do. You have suffered much hardship, just as I. Vulko raised the sleeve to his wrist, as King Shark would see that he too bore those scars. You and I are alike. We may be different, but we have shared the same pain. It's not too late. It does not have to come to this. While King Shark could understand, he felt as though he could not be swayed by words. Realizing this, Vulko would duck out of the way as they went fighting onto a platform that had a large chain, the kind of chain used for anchors on ships. Moving into position, Vulko would wrap the chain around King Shark that had a weight attached to it. Once he cut the weight from its secure, the anchor itself would start driving into the sea, and King Shark would be taken along with it. How deep it would go and how far it would go, he had no idea. But for now at least, he might be able to buy them some time. As King Shark was dragged down into the dark waters below, Vulko could only look on with a grim face. Even in victory, he acknowledged his opponent. For what they had gone through, there was no victory. They were two survivors of a dark time. For the people of Kokoyashi Village, they were besides themselves. Arlong's reign of terror had finally come to an end, and for them, their liberation had now been upon them. All of this was a big surprise for Nami herself, as for her, she never thought this day would come, the day that her hometown would be liberated. And as she looked on, watching Luffy and the others return, a new admiration formed within her heart for the one that saved her in her time of need. Following the defeat of Arlong and the Arlong pirates, Luffy and his crew were now ready to set sail onto the next leg of their journey. Of course, Luffy hoped that Nami would come with them, as the crew were now ready to set sail. Johnny and Yasuku were going to be staying back at Kokoyashi Village as a way of looking after it in case anyone else tried anything. Although when things were settled down, they'd hopefully get back out into the world. And who knows, maybe they'd see them on the Grand Line. In the crowd that were seeing off the Straw Hats, Nami looked on with her sister edging her to get out there already and to stop wasting time. With a smile, Nami would hug her sister back before rushing to the crowd and picking as many pockets as she could before she would jump on board of the Going Merry with the others. After all, what crew couldn't have a good navigator? Of course, the people of Kokoyashi Village weren't too thrilled with Nami picking their pockets so easily, and some were yelling at her as they set sail. But even still, the anger would subside with a deep sense of happiness and of longing. However, for Luffy and the others, little did they know that their exploits would not go unnoticed. For you see, a Marine officer not too far away was being transmitted all of the information on some key events that were going on in an outpost near the East Blue. Come in, come in. Is anyone there? Yes, this is the East Blue outpost of the Marines. What's your situation? I have a bounty. It needs to be placed out immediately. New pirate crew arriving in the east. New pirate crew? Okay. What's this crew's feats? Its captain. It's said that he's defeated Don Krieg of the Don Krieg Pirates, along with Bucky of the Clown Pirates. And he just defeated Arlong of the Arlong Pirates. He what? He defeated Arlong, Don Krieg, and Buggy? You have to be joking. I'm not joking. I'm sending in pictures now via the Dindin Mushi. It'll show you the aftermaths of the battles. As the pictures came in, the shocking revelations of what was happening in the East could no longer be lost. Do you know anything about this crew? Who its captain is? At that point in time, a new bounty would be issued for the captain of this crew, the Straw Hat Triton-wielding boy, Monkey D. Luffy. The bounty, 50 million berries. News would quickly spread throughout the East, far and wide, to both friend and foe. One in particular, a red-haired individual who smiled happily looking upon the wanted poster. Would you look at that? The little squirt's got his first bounty. Congratulations, Luffy. Looks like you're finally making a name for yourself. Now, let's see what else you're capable of. Let's see what you can do on the Grand Line. This concludes One Piece King of the Sea, What If Luffy Was Aquaman, Season 1, Part 6. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we continue with Part 7 of What If Luffy Was Aquaman. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with Power Core Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.